Welcome to Extraterrestrial Reality. Today I want to talk about a paper that came out last year. It was written by a doctoral student from out of the University of Vigo in Spain named Alberto Caballero. And the paper was talked about the possibility that there's could be 4 hostile alien civilizations that are lurking out there in the Milky Way galaxy that could potentially at some point invade Earth. So I'm going to talk about this among other things, and I'm just going to go through this article a little bit here. It says here, the Milky Way is home to millions of potentially habitable planets, and approximately 4 of them may harbor evil alien civilizations that would invade Earth if they could. The new paper poses a peculiar question. What are the odds that humans could one day contact a hostile alien civilization that's capable of invading our planet? To answer this, Caballero began by looking back at human history before looking out to the stars. And then he wrote in his study that this paper attempts to provide an estimation of the prevalence of hostile extraterrestrial civilizations through an extrapolation of the probability that we, as the human civilization, would attack or invade an inhabited exoplanet. To reach his estimation, Caballero first counted the number of countries that invaded other countries between 1915 and 2022. He found that a total of 51 of the world's 195 nations had launched some sort of invasion during that period. The United States sat at the top of the list, with 14 invasions tallied at that time. Then he weighted each country's probability of launching an invasion based on that country's percentage of the global military expenditure. Again, the United States came in top with 38% of global military spending. And then from there, Caballero added each country's individual probability of instigating an invasion, then divided the sum by the total number of countries on Earth, ending up with what he describes as the current human probability of invasion of an extraterrestrial civilization. According to this model, the current odds of humans invading another inhabited planet are 0.028%. However, Caballero wrote that probability refers to the current state of human civilization, and humans aren't currently capable of interstellar travel. If current rates of technological advancement hold, then interstellar travel wouldn't be possible for another 259 years. Caballero calculated this using the Kardashev scale, a system that categorizes how advanced the civilization is based on its energy expenditure. Assuming the frequency of human invasions continues to decline over that time at the same rate that invasions have declined over the last 50 years, an average of minus 1.15% per year, according to Caballero's paper, then the human race has a 0.0014% probability of invading another planet when we potentially become an interstellar or Type 1 civilization 259 years from now. That may sound like very slim odds, and it is until you start multiplying it by the millions of potentially habitable planets in the Milky Way. For his final calculation, Caballero turned to a 2012 paper published in the journal Mathematical SETI, in which researchers predicted that as many as 15,785 alien civilizations could theoretically share the galaxy with humans. Caballero concluded that less than one of the Type 1 civilizations, 0.22 to be precise, would be hostile toward humans who make contact. However, the number of malicious neighbors increases to 4.42 when accounting for civilizations that, like modern humans, are not yet capable of interstellar travel, Caballero told Vice News. And then here's a direct quote from him. He says, "I don't mention the 4.42 civilizations in my paper because, 1, we don't know whether all the civilizations in the galaxy are like us, and 2, a civilization like us would probably not pose a threat to another one since we don't have the technology to travel to their planet." And then the article continues here. It says, 4 hostile alien powers doesn't seem like a lot to worry about. Furthermore, the probability that humans might contact one of these malicious civilizations and then be invaded by them is vanishingly small, Caballero added. the probability of extraterrestrial invasion by a civilization whose planet we message is around 2 orders of magnitude lower than the probability of a planet-killer asteroid collision, he wrote in his paper, adding that planet-killing asteroids like the one that doomed the dinosaurs are 1 in 100 million year events. And then it continues here. It says, though Caballero's study poses an interesting thought experiment, the author admits his model has limitations. The invasion probability is based on a very narrow slice of human history, and it makes many assumptions about the future development of our species. The model also assumes that alien intelligence will have brain compositions, values, and senses of empathy similar to those of humans, which may simply not be the case. Which I got to stop there for a second. Yeah, we don't know what aliens, how they think, what their thought processes, how they operate. Anyway, continuing here, it says, I did the paper based only on life as we know it, he said. We don't know the mind of extraterrestrials. Exactly, we don't. And by the looks of things, it'll be at least a few hundred more years until we do. Well, there's the rub, isn't it? By the looks of things, it will be at least a few hundred more years until we do. Now, many of us know. See, again, this is taken from a scientific perspective where we're living in this Alice in Wonderland, fantasy land, where there are no extraterrestrials here, and there's been no contact ever between human beings and beings from other places. That's the fantasy land that you have to remember goes along with this study. Of course, someone like this, somebody who's doing a doctoral student isn't going to put together something talking about the reality that there's extraterrestrials already here, even though the evidence it's so mountainous at this point. There's no question about it. But again, this guy, he's suggesting that there could be 4 alien civilizations out there waiting for us, and some of them could be not nearly as advanced as we are at this point, and maybe some of them are a little bit more advanced. It's all pure speculation, and it's all much ado about nothing when you really think about it, because we have no idea. We have no idea. You could come up with all the different. This galaxy is so big, you don't know how many planets out there harbor life, intelligent life. We just don't know. I mean, there could be a planet out there that's similar to Earth. Earth was 5,000 years ago, and people are very primitive right now, and maybe they're really bad. Maybe the intelligent life that's on that planet right now could be really bad. But then again, there could be another planet out there that's very similar to Earth, but they're maybe 1,000 years more advanced than we are, but they're still not able to travel deep distances in the galaxy, like apparently some beings are. Again, this doesn't take into account all of the evidence that has compiled over the decades that suggests that there's already aliens here, right? And I suggest that, even though there are a lot of people out there, I know I'm going to just point this out before I even go further on this. There are a lot of people out there who think that aliens are here for noble purposes, to help humankind. And maybe in some cases that's true. But, I mean, there's a lot of research that's been done by different people over the decades that suggests otherwise. I mean, if you look at the alien abduction phenomena, how could that be construed as good? I mean, if the implications that it has, that this abduction phenomenon has, like according to people like David Jacobs, who's a retired Temple University professor who studied this for decades, interviewed well over 1,000 people who have been abducted by aliens over the years, and has come to some conclusions. I mean, people like him who have actually studied this, worked with people, talked with people, met with people, hypnotized people, right, that have been abducted by aliens. I mean, he's someone who's actually done the research, and he paints a very ugly picture of what's going on here right now. At least with concerning some of these aliens, right? We don't know. There could be it seems like there are other kinds out there reported by different people sometimes. Ones that aren't the gray aliens or reptilians or insectoids. There seems to be some other types out there too, and maybe they are good and they're coming here. But based on research by a lot of people, it doesn't look good. Now, I talk a lot recently. There's been a few podcasts where I talk about cattle mutilations. Now, if aliens are doing that simply for food purposes, I don't see how you could. That's not evil. Then, I mean, I don't think that would be evil if that's what they live off of, right? animal blood, right? Well, how could we complain, really? I mean, look what we do. We kill all different kinds of animals, all kinds of fish, birds, cattle, deer, anything. I mean, humans eat all kinds of meat, and so I just don't see how we could, if that's the purpose behind it, right? If the aliens are doing this because they need to eat too, well, I don't see how a human race could complain about that. I guess the question with cattle mutilations is, why are they doing it? And again, it could be for some sort of experimentations, right? But then again, we can't even complain about that. Look at the things we do, the human race does to animals. So I mean, that's not evil. Then I don't think that would be how you can construe that as evil, if that's those are the purposes. I mean, because we do the same kind of things. But when it comes to alien abduction, when people are getting abducted and they feel like they're terrorized and they're stressed out and that doesn't seem good. But even beyond that, what's even more scary is what the reasons are behind the abductions. Like, has people like Jacobs has talked about in books like The Threat and his other book, Walking Among Us, right? I'm going to get into some of that in a minute, and it's not good. It doesn't sound good to me at all, actually. It sounds like they're evil. Like, to me, the message that I get out of those books is that basically there's an extraterrestrial presence here that's trying to take over mankind somehow. And that's it. I mean, at some point, they're doing it right now. We're in the midst of it right now. Right now, according to Jacobs, there are beings among us that look like humans, but they're not. Because over the course of many decades, they've come up with this perfect, what he calls hybrid, a mixture of alien and humans that passes for a human, and you wouldn't be able to tell a difference if you saw them in the street. And that they at the same time, they have the same powers as an alien, as these extraterrestrials have. The powers to control people, the power to read your mind, to communicate telepathically. They seems like they've been working toward this, and now we're on to this other phase of this abduction program, which is now integration. And doesn't sound good to me at all. It sounds like basically what we're working. If it's true, then that means they're working toward consuming us in a way. It would be a different form of an invasion. Like, we always look at war, like the human mind looks at war like shooting people, blowing things up that way. But an extraterrestrial race might look at it a different way. Maybe the war here that's ongoing that we're just not recognizing, not enough of us anyway, is that it's a war against our genetics. And at some point, we're going to be something different. We're going to become something different over time, and not by choice, but by the actions of these visitors, right? They're basically taking us over. They're consuming us, and they're turning us into them. It's basically a war against our genetics rather than destroying the planet. It's just something that takes a little bit longer, than the kind of wars that we know of. And anyway, we're going to talk about that a little bit more. We're going to take a quick break, and we will be right back. Okay, we are back. Now, I'm going to talk a little bit about some of the things that David M. Jacobs talked about in his book, Walking Among Us, The Alien Plan to Control Humanity. And, there's a lot of things that he goes over here. It's a great book, and of course, I'll leave the link in the description, so if you want to get it, you could check it out yourself. It's just a fantastic book. Fascinating stuff. But, one of the things, you have people who debunk this whole phenomenon. You have the people out there who just won't accept it, like the bunkers of the world, the Neil deGrasse Tysons of the world, the mainstream media. Like, they just don't lend this any credence. But yet, when you really think about it, have they ever done any research on this? No, none of them have. But people like David Jacobs has done research on this, and here he presents his findings. They don't want to look at this. Nobody wants to consider this. But I mean, they'll blame things like alien abduction on sleep paralysis or psychological issues, things like that, and false memory syndrome, like that hypnosis isn't really that good. But again, these people they're sitting in an armchair and making these proclamations without really looking at the data. I mean, the fact of the matter is, like Jacobs points out here in his book, there are things that happen this is how there's sometimes people are abducted. They're actually missing from their normal environment. When these things happen, people go missing, and then some people are abducted in groups, right? And they can, and then later on they're able to confirm with other abductees that, yeah, I was there too. And then sometimes there's people who are just that actually witness abductions. These things have happened sometimes. There's actually witnesses to people getting abducted sometimes. That happens every now and then. And then when these people are returned, they have marks on their body. They're bruised. There's all kinds of sometimes they have broken bones, according to Jacobs. I mean, this stuff is all in his book, and he goes over it. People have sometimes their clothes are turned inside out, and they're wearing somebody else's clothes sometimes. I mean, so that there are things that lend to the reality of this, that shows that, yeah, this is really happening. And this doesn't sound like good aliens to me. I mean, this sounds like evil aliens up to something. And that's the thing is, well, what are they up to? Now, according to Jacobs, they're up to basically taking the world over, taking the human race over, controlling us at some point. We're working toward a change, according to Jacobs. And then the other thing is, a lot of the people who are abducted, they don't want this. They want to be told that they're crazy and it's not really happening. But now, I mean, even beyond abductions, now it's reached another phase. Like abductions, according to Jacobs, like in the early 2000s, started to decline, and now it seems like there's we've been engaged in this other phase. But anyway, I'm going to go through some of the stuff that he writes here. He talks about the different kind of beings that are involved in this. And of course, the insectoids these things that look like praying mantises, they seem to be at the top of this food chain. They seem to be like the ones that are in charge. He writes here, they seem superior in intellect and in breadth of understanding. They do not have the well-ordered routine of which greys abide, and therefore they are less structured. They do not perform commonplace tasks like physically taking humans into a UFO or guiding them through the corridors into rooms. They sometimes conduct preliminary examinations on abductees, although these procedures are generally left to the greys. They employ neural engagement, and abductees report that they perform the most penetrating and strongest neural engagement of all aliens. They appear to have more knowledge of the program than other aliens. So obviously, these insectoids that are at the top of this group that are involved in the abductions, they're the ones in charge, obviously, and they're the scariest, obviously. And he writes here, abductees report that some insectolins, he refers to them as insectolins, wear robes or cloaks with extremely high collars that rise above where ears would be on humans. Researchers do not understand the role of these robe-wearing insectolins, and abductees almost never describe them as involved with common abduction procedures. It is possible that they have a higher status than other insectolins, but more research is needed to understand their function. And then he also writes that these beings are supremely logical and appear to lack a human-like emotion. Abductees' descriptions of their personalities and communication patterns indicate that they care little about human civilization. To them, humans are an inferior species who are almost childlike in their ability to think and whom they can manipulate not only individually, but societally as well. And they also appear these insectolins have no sense of human morality or ethics, although they may have their own characteristic morality. For them, abducting people is a logical means to an end. I guess let's stop there. Again, we don't know what that end is, though. But it doesn't. I don't think it could be anything good, right? I mean, again, if Jacobs is the one who researches, I know to a lot of people out there who might just be hearing this for the first time, this might sound completely insane. Actually, when I read the threat back in the late 90s, I thought that was completely insane, and it scared me. I don't know, what do you do with this information? It doesn't seem like there's anything you can do with it. You either accept it or you don't. But maybe we should try to start accepting this as a whole and try to understand what's going on here. But again, then again, though, it might be too late. Anyway, I'm going to skip forward to some of the other beings and that he talks about. There's the Greys, of course, that they seem to be the ones that do the physical labor. They're the smaller ones do the abducting, and the taller ones seem to be doing the removing sperm and eggs from humans. So they're the ones that are doing the doctor work. They're the ones involved in that. And then there seems to be reptilian type beings also that are involved in this. And Jacob says they're more difficult to categorize and describe, and are reported only infrequently. Abductees' descriptions of them vary. Some are portrayed as having scaly skin, some as having lizard or snake-like faces. Many abductees are frightened by these, either because of their appearance or because in some way they seem threatening. Why reptilians seem to be more threatening than other aliens is an open question, although some abductees say they are more mentally aggressive. This, along with their popular association with Earth's reptiles, has made them the object of endless conjecture and biblical ruminations by interested abduction followers. It is possible that my hybridization hypothesis does not apply to reptilians, but their existence has other potential meanings that he addresses later in his book. Reptilians communicate telepathically like insectilians and the rest of the workforce. Their tasks are the same as the Greys, but they do not physically abduct people as do Greys and other hybrids. And then he talks about humanoids. These are beings that are in various stages of hybridization. There's like the early stage hybrids, which look like a lot like aliens, and then there are middle stage humanoid hybrids that they basically still look alien. You'd be able to know that there's something going on. But then there's late stage humanoids who he talks about here, and I want to read this paragraph what he says about the late stage humanoids, and these are scary. He says here, late-stage humanoids are of human stature and can easily pass for human, except that their irises may be too large and they may not have pubic or body hair, although they have normal head hair. In recent years, abductees have described an increasing role for late-stage humanoids in the program. The males sometimes become personal project hybrids, attaching themselves to female abductees from an early age. They visit these abductees frequently over decades and have a personal relationship with them. They use these abductees for both sexual and insemination purposes, thus relieving sexual tension and perhaps bypassing egg-taking procedures and fetal implantation. Late-stage humanoids have become somewhat socialized into human society. They visit abductees in their homes. They make sure abductees do not violate security by, for example, remembering and consistently describing their abductions to others. The relationships between late-stage humanoids and abductees can be both affectionate and or aggressively hostile, depending on the humanoid's mindset and whether the abductee is obeying orders. They live on board. Human stage hybrids are indistinguishable from humans except in their neurological abilities. Little is known about the functions of these hybrids, but they seem to have a single-minded purpose to ensure that the hybrids, which is the ultimate stage hybrid, right? We'll talk about that in a second. It seems here, let me go back here a little bit. It says, but they seem to have a single-minded purpose to ensure that the hybrids who are living on Earth are adjusting smoothly. They operate on Earth, but whether they stay here permanently is unknown. Some act as advanced hybrids coming to Earth to find housing for those who follow. Others act as security hybrids who are rigidly concerned with protecting the hybrids beginning to live on Earth. They keep abductees quiet if they remember their abductions and make sure they are performing their duties of helping hybrids assimilate into Earth's population. If abductees are recalcitrant or resist orders, security hybrids do what is necessary to bring them into compliance. If abductees do not respond to orders and tell an abduction investigator about their participation in the program, security hybrids stop this behavior by admonishing them or, if necessary, threatening them and even using physical violence. Security hybrids live alone in apartments near integrating hybrids, although how much time they spend on Earth or on a UFO is unknown. So basically you have these, they're basically like enforcers, these late-stage humanoid hybrids, right? They're just late-stage enforcers that protect and threaten protect the hybrids, and also try to prevent abductees from, letting anyone else know what they're experiencing. So things like that. And then, of course, the final stage here, the end game result of all of this is hybrids, and according to Jacobs, they represent the end point of the human hybridization program. They are indistinguishable indistinguishable from humans in every way except neurologically. They can speak orally or use telepathy, and most important, they can neurologically control humans. It seems they have one main function: to live on Earth undetected, blending seamlessly into society. This goal is the penultimate event in the abduction program. Even after being educated about aspects of Earth living, Ubrits are still exceptionally naive about the complexities of human life, and they require an immense amount of help from abductees. But they are quick learners and soon adjust to the social complexities in which they have been immersed. I have found two types of Ubrits: independent Ubrits who live alone, and group Ubrits who share an apartment, usually with 1 to 3 other Ubrits. And so what is this all about? Again, they're integrating themselves into our society by manipulating our genetics and through this abduction program. And what does it mean? Anyway, he talks here about alien hybrid society. He says aliens come from a collective society in which individuality and personal lives are virtually non-existent. Function and task are paramount. They appear to have no idle or personal time during which they can indulge in any type of rest or recreation. Insectulins and greys have limited and narrow emotional ranges. Moreover, the world of aesthetics that occupies the lives of so many humans is non-existent in alien society. It is entirely possible that no art forms exist, no painting, drawing, literature, music, drama, or dance. Likewise, there is no evidence of entertainment of any sort except for hybrid children's toys. Well, I'm not going to read any of the rest of this. Again, this is a book that if you don't have it, you might want to check it out. But to me, right, this doesn't sound good. This sounds like they're trying to take over. This doesn't sound. I mean, if you look at our history, human history. I mean, if you look at World War II, for instance, you basically had the Germans, the Nazis, trying to what was their plan? Basically, they were trying to they did all this Holocaust, and basically the end game for them was to have a whole world with this Aryan race, right? That's what they were doing via killing everybody that they didn't like, right? So what are these aliens doing? It's really, in a way, it's almost similar, right? They're basically altering the genetics of human beings, if it's all true, if Jacobs is correct. Right, if his research is correct, they're basically changing. It's a war on human genetics, and they're changing us so we become them, and then we don't have any individuality, no recreation, no fun, no more family picnics, no more get-togethers, nothing like that, and we all become just like worker bees for some intelligent insect from outer space. Basically, that's what it looks like. If all of this is true, for as crazy as it sounds. Earlier, we were talking about this paper from last year talking about that there might be 4 hostile alien civilizations lurking in the Milky Way. Well, let me guess what? I think that's already here. I think this is research conducted by David Jacobs, and among others, there was other people like Bud Hopkins who investigated this kind of stuff. But Jacobs has come to some conclusions, and they are not good. I mean, it doesn't look good. These things look like they want to take over, if that's what's going on here. And I guess that, here's the problem. This is why I don't like the fact that this is covered up by the government, is because if this is true, then, and a lot of people out here like us, we're out there wondering, okay, is this what's happening and you're not telling us? Well, how do we know that these extraterrestrials, and I brought this up before, how do we know that they're not the ones that are controlling the group that's keeping this secret? I mean, if Ubrids have these abilities to do these kind of things, to control people telepathically, then how do we know that they're not the ones pulling the strings behind the scenes all this time? And people like in the government, even presidents of the United States, they don't even they're not aware what's really going on, because for all we know, this might be going on a lot longer than even Jacobs talks about. I just think, again, this needs to be an open discussion. I mean, if this is what's going on, then that means they're around us at all times. We don't even know who's who. And you wouldn't be able to tell either. You would be no way of knowing. And if you even got close, what do you think is going to happen? They're going to do something to you that you'll forget. You wouldn't even know what you're looking for. If they have these kind of abilities over our minds, like is claimed by people like Jacobs. And here's another thing, just to keep in mind. A lot of people think that all these abductions, that the only time people recover these memories of these abduction events is through hypnosis. That's not true at all. There's a lot of people who get abducted and remember a lot of it. A good chunk of it, sometimes all of it. They don't even need hypnosis, right? But they're going to a psychiatrist or to find out, hey, am I going crazy? This is what's going on. And then they want to be told that they're going crazy. And they don't even need hypnosis to recover these memories. So to me, this seems like something is happening here behind the scenes, and it doesn't seem like it's good. So this study from this guy, this guy from Spain last year about the possibility that there's 4 hostile alien civilizations out there. Well, guess what? The chances, he suggests that the chances are really, really slim that they'll ever get around to invading Earth. I think if what Jacobs is saying is true, they're already here and they're already up to no good. And with all due respect to all the people out there who think they're star children and all this kind of stuff, I'm sorry, but again, you can't ignore this either. You can't. I mean, that could be the case. There could be good aliens out there, I guess, right? I don't know. I don't know. All I know is I know that there's something here. That's all I know. All I can tell you, because based on my own experiences, I encountered an extraterrestrial being, so I know, right? I know, right? I saw a craft that I know was not human made. There's just no way. But I'm not sure what's true and what's not, and that's why I think it's important for the government to come out and let everyone know what the hell's going on. I mean, is this true? Are there beings taking over, and they're just sitting behind the scenes with their arms crossed and not doing anything about it, and just letting it happen? Or are they being controlled by the aliens themselves? I guess these are all kinds of questions I have. It's important that we have the truth already. This is absurd that just keeps going on. No resolution. All of us do is wonder what's true and what's not. I mean, again, I would have to go along with Jacobs because he actually did research. When you had Neil deGrasse Tyson, what did he never did any research? All he does is go on CNN and say, no, there's no proof. He's done no research. Like there's a lot of people, the people that are the talking heads on the mainstream news, right? None of these people have done serious research for the most part. People like Dave Jacobs has researched this. And this is some of the conclusions that he's come to. And it doesn't sound good to me. It sounds like evil aliens are already here and they're up to really bad, no good. Anyway, until next time.